Louis Guidetti, sexy beast, warrior mage. Definitely did not film this already and had to scrap that footage because I forgot the audio in it. That is a noob mistake. That definitely did not happen. We're talking about the figure. I'm going to go about my thought process, articulate what the hell I'm doing with this, and try to explain to you the benefits of drawing. Very simple, very basic at first. Just my thought process in breaking this drawing down. So we're going to get the bottom, we're going to get the top, and then we're going to mark the midpoint. I am using comparative measurement here. Comparative measurements, right? So the first thing we do, I'm just going to get the angle of the foot. Now, why did we start with the feet? The feet are planted, right? And in a live model setting, if you're smart, if the teacher's smart, if the artist is smart, they have marked the foot, right? They have marked it. And so that is a point you can essentially know is correct, right? It's a point of measurement, something that you can always go back to. So I diagonally go up from the heel to get the width of the ankle, and then the other heel is going to be kind of back here like this, something like that, and breaks a little bit higher, something like that. From this point here, I'm going to shoot straight up from the back of her right heel, straight up, and get the angle that I think where her leg meets her buttocks area, and then I'm going to shoot straight across from here to get the other side, her hip. And I'm going to block this piece in all at once, but I'm also going to be trying to get all these individual points. They all have to line up, right? So I'm getting the knees here with this, and then this one's coming, actually if this is here, this point should be here. If this is here, actually this is more correct. I just messed up. This other width was too much. So this is why it's very important to measure off of different angles, right? I'm always measuring off of different angles. That's what I'm doing. Always measuring off of different angles. So I get these points. I get the knees and the ankles, and then get the the hip area, and then I just essentially try to get the angles in between them, and that's how I construct the legs. And in doing so, you're looking at the width, the length, and the angle, right? And so that's what we're doing when we're trying to construct this area. Now, I'm not going to go through and do all these bumps here. I'm just going to give one straight line going through here, which should be something like this, something like that. That's fine. Actually, it fills out a little bit at the top. Let's fill that out some. And then if we want, we can leave that here. I can sculpt it a little bit with an eraser, bring that in just a little bit down here. I always have an eraser, my peasants, in my left hand. A kneaded eraser comes in handy because you can very quickly correct and clean up the drawing. So one, and then we're going to have two coming down like this. All right, so just very simple lines. We don't need to kill it at first. We just very simple lines, something coming up like that. All right, so there we have her bent leg, and then we're going to put her standing leg in as quickly as we can too. So I'm going to go from the back of her heel up to the back of the knee right here, up to here, and just make sure these points, I'm trying to make sure these points are relating to one another, in fact, right? From here, and then I'm going to go across and measure off of the back of her left knee right here to get her front, the knee in the front part of her knee on her right leg. So we got that point here going to here, and then that's when it kind of does that little angle break right there. So I'll put that in. So I'm constructing the whole leg all at once. So this is how we want to go about doing it. This piece can be a little tricky right here because you think that this angle right here should be going that way because there's a point, but in fact it kind of goes over that way. So I'm just going to keep it a little bit broad, basic, simple, like your face. And so I'm just going to mark the big basic angles of this foot in, all the while trying to see not just this width right here, but this entire width. So we're seeing the whole thing all at once. That's what we're trying to do. And we just sweep these lines in, and then if I'm really looking at this is kind of coming up like that just a little bit, and then it kind of breaks over some. It breaks over just a little bit. So at this point we can go and we can double check these lines, and I kind of think that this needs to drop just maybe a slight bit, right? So if this is here, shooting up here. So I'm at this point going to check my points. And we always have to go back and check and make sure everything is in fact correct. So from here, what I'm going to do, we have the base. Dad, put that down. Don't do that. Put it down. All right. What we're going to do from here, I see a live correction we have to do down here, number one. But what we're going to do, we're going to shoot straight up to the top, and we're going to get the suprasternal notch, which really is right here. It's this point. However, it is being obscured, so we're going to get the point where the neck meets the shoulder. And the reason why we want to do this is we don't want the figure to be falling over. So when I'm measuring, it comes essentially, if we drop a straight line through this point where the neck meets the shoulder, it goes down through kind of almost, let's see, mid ankle, around right here, which this ankle needs to fill out, so I'm aware of that, but we'll do that in a little bit. But to this point right here, it should be coming down through there. So how high? It should be somewhere around here, methinks. Probably right here, I'm guessing. This is a guess, a guesstimate, as they say. And then what we can do, we can kind of mark the shoulder, the top of the shoulder, and just have it fall down, something like this. And we can construct the top part, right? Top part. So then from here, the shoulder is kind of comes down just a little bit, but then it comes down at this angle. So the top of her shoulder right here, the other part is going to be dropping just a little bit. So we have this point kind of coming here like this. It falls down. Let's see, if this is here, this is going to be here. This is actually going to be coming in some. Okay, so from this to this, that makes sense. Okay, so this width is going to be about right here, kind of coming down. And then we can also get her armpit in. So these are the things that I look for. And you know what, if we want to get fancy about it, let's go and we can kind of mark, let's block her head in as quickly as we can. Let's just block her head in this. And I'm looking actually to get the area, this area right here in between. I'm looking at the negative shape, the background, right? My background is actually, it's coming, the shape is a little bit too big on mine. So I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. Knife edge eraser. Put this in, push this up. All right. We don't need to be like totally perfect about it, like right off the bat. We don't need to do that. The reason being is because in a live setting, the model is going to be moving, and by the time we say, oh, well, we got the angle and everything and it's perfect, the model probably moved a little bit and it's not perfect, what have you. So then from this point here, this is kind of breaking, coming up at this angle right here. And then the back of the head, it goes out about that far like this. She does have one of those heads from like the movie Aliens. It's like the back of the head, it looks like, you draw it, you say, oh, that's good. Like, it doesn't need to be any bigger, and then you realize it needs to go back further still. It's quite impressive. I've noticed this quite a bit on this one. So anyway, this from here, how wide is the neck? It's somewhere around here, coming down like this, dropping down. This drops down, this comes over, this is here, and then this kind of drops down like that, a little bit more over here. So we're using kind of everything to get the big basic instruction. From this point, we can just kind of clean this up. So what have I done? What have we done? We have essentially blocked the top part of the head in relationship, hopefully, to the bottom half of the figure. In this way, the model's not going to be falling over. Now, you might be thinking, but Louis, why do you construct this, construct this? I always like constructing this here. Sometimes when we construct the center part, there's nothing wrong with doing that. You can get away with it. But when the model moves and we work down the figure, sometimes we have different positions as we go because we haven't paid attention to the overall movement of the figure. And in this way, it forces us to relate the bottom half of the figure to the upper half of the figure. So we're training ourselves to move up and down the entire figure, which forces us to see the entire figure, to understand the entire figure, and to keep track of the positions. Because if I draw this, say, in the first 15 minutes of the pose, then I can, if the model moves, then I know, because I said, well, the suprasternal notch or the area close to it was back here, whereas now it's here. So this is how we train ourselves to, in fact, monitor this, to keep these things in mind. It's a very good habit to get into, is drawing the bottom and going straight at the top, and then filling the rest in between, trying to make sense of all of it. Ideally, you're doing everything all at once. So from this point here, I'm constantly checking these points, trying to make sure that everything is in fact accurate, right? That's what we're trying to do. So from here to here, let's get these points here. I think, let's see, from this point here, this comes over just a little bit that way, right? So I am going to, in fact, bring that out some, just like that. And then this point here, this is here, down diagonally, this point should be about right here. So, and then it should cut in about this angle, something like this. And then from here down to here, should be actually, this I think needs to come up just a little bit maybe. This point's gonna be about right here. If this is here, how wide is it? It's gonna be somewhere around here. And if this is here, it should be, I'm gonna look at the negative shape here. I'm gonna ignore the arm just for a second. Look at the negative shape and draw that negative shape. And all the while seeing this, right? You have to see the whole thing at once, and it's gonna be probably somewhere, something like that, something like this. It might in fact come up just a little bit. There we go. That looks a little bit better. You don't want to donk her ass. If you do, you just shave it off, right? It's very simple maneuvers. Yes. All right, simple maneuvers. And then from here, let's go ahead and get the arm in. So we have the arm kind of coming down, one, and then it's coming over like this, across the butt, like that, right here. Right, and then I normally don't do these subtle angles yet, but let's just go ahead and put this in because it really does help to get the impression of the elbow, that type of stuff there. And from here, this is kind of coming up at this angle, and then it kind of like shoots up a little bit this way. This is kind of coming up like that. This is a little bit higher. It goes up, and from here, it's a little bit more, there's a little bit more subtlety involved, right? Subtlety of angles and such. And that's what we're gonna get, so that goes up just a little bit there. This is probably gonna fill out just a little bit at the top. This probably comes down just a little bit here and then goes up. So we're just widening that elbow just a little bit because I noticed it was a little bit thin and it corresponded with the changes that I saw around it. So this is going up to the elbow region. Her wrist breaks about right here, going up at that angle, and then this part right here. This is tricky stuff. This is a little bit tricky throughout this area. You know, I have to say this is a little bit tricky. So this actually does come in just a little bit. That comes in, and we're probably gonna shave off just a hair width consequently of that. One thing that we can also look for in getting like this point right here, and then this point here, is seeing this width. That will help us. And mine's very close. A lot of this stuff, it doesn't look close, but it is. It's just a little bit more subtlety is involved. It's kind of in between the two lines that I have right here. So if you notice, I'm doing more drawing with the eraser than I do with the pencil. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. Right? So, you know what? We're just gonna keep it there for now. And then from here, we have this point here, and then I'm gonna shoot straight across the belly, right here. 1, 2, there's that little piece right there, and it kind of pops out, and I'm gonna simply just lightly connect it through, and then bring this part, I'm gonna try to see this whole shape all at once. It's actually a very beautiful shape, going up to the top of the rib cage, right underneath the boobie, the breast, right? And then I'm gonna use this angle right here to get this piece, because there's this beautiful angle. So you can look at this width to get that shape right there. So since this is what it is right here, and then the breast falls from this point here, it falls here. This width is looking in the ballpark. I think it's in the ballpark. kind of drops down, and then the breast, the nipple is going to be about right here to this point, to this point. I'm judging off all these other points, and let's just go 1 and then 2. And if I want, I could just say 3 like that, something like that. And then from here, we just come across, something like that. So that's going to be a rough blocking of the torso, the breast, and then let's get that. Let's get this hand in really quick. Let's get this hand in, then I got to get going because I am actually late. But in the next video, I'm going to probably correct this just a little bit more. I might do a little corrections before I end this, but I'm going to be going over more of how to develop it from this point. That at least will be the goal. So again, watch where I'm tapping. I'm measuring off of all these points here. And see, here's the thing. When you're looking for points and you're trying to simplify and you're trying to understand and get the angles, right? If this point's here, this wrist needs to come out just a little bit more. Okay, and then that means this point comes up some too, because we shift the entire wrist, and this is kind of, which makes sense. This shaves up just a little bit. So that's how I get these points. But if we're looking to get the points, you have to put the points in. Those are actual points you can use to measure off of. So the more you strive to get these points, the better you're going to get at getting these points, and you have more points to measure off of, and you can measure off multiple points to get a point. Does that make sense? It's like, imagine an atlas, all the lines going across. A lot of people, you'll see them drawing lines across their drawing. I don't recommend doing that, drawing all the relationships across. For demonstrational reasons, I can see doing that. That's fine for a teacher to do that. As a student, it simply obscures the drawing too much and takes away the light impression. It gives your brain a little something more to struggle with. And in drawing, we want to simplify this as much as we can, make it easier for ourselves. So just try to get the basic light impression, try to get it to look exactly, like it is in reality. Don't put lines across it. Don't make it look like Freddy Krueger. Don't lacerate it, right? It's essentially how we have to go about doing this. But it forces us to get these points, and like this point here, I can use to measure to get this point here. And then I'm going to go across and just basically, this is where I think the inside of the fingers fall, diagonally up. Okay, wait a second, wait a second. I need to think about this for a second. Okay, so if this is the belly, this is the wrist. This is the wrist. The wrist breaks here, and then that means this is where I think her knuckles are, and then they kind of fan out from here. It's like one, it goes at that angle, and then this is the angle of going down the first part of the knuckles, the fingers, and then it drops down like this at this angle here. And then I'm going to slightly squint because this is a rounded area. I'm just going to kind of do a straight line, slightly rounded like that, about this wide. This is what I'm looking at right here. And then it's going down into the leg about yay far, and then we cut off this piece a little bit. So we cut that piece, and I could put another little piece here to smooth it out, but it's something like that. And actually, that looks a little bit long to me, but maybe, but it's going to be very easy to correct at this point, right? Okay, so here we go, and this is essentially the big, broad, basic blocking that most definitely is not correct, but this is how I go about working the figure in, right? This is how I go about doing it. Let's shave this off just a little bit, because that was a little bit thick here. So I'm going to do this probably a little bit more in the next video, but I'm going to correct the basic blocking stage. Like I said, I think I said it in this take, I forget if it was this take or the take before. A lot of mistakes beginner moron idiots make is that they put it in the blocking stage, and then they're like, okay, step one, check, let's go to the next step, and they're drawing, and then everything's all messed up, and they're like, why, I did everything you said, it sucks, And that's not what you want to do. You want to get in the blocking stage, keep it there, as a battle arena to train your freaking brain on how to draw, and you correct the proportions in the meantime. So you keep it in this basic stage, correct the drawing, correct the proportions, and then only when it's correcting, you cannot see anything more, and the teacher comes up and says, good job, Lewis, you are better, you should be teaching us, you should be teaching me. I always thought that from the very first day that I met you. When they come up and say that, that's when you know you can start going through and breaking it down. Anyway, that's all I got. Lewis Guidetti, out.